Hello all and welcome to a brand new Parry's Pickups. So we're going to start off with the big one, big release. It's just sort of appeared here, and that's the Mega Drive Classics collection. That's what it's called, isn't it? It's called them. It's hard to keep track of these because there's been so many of these compilations over the years. This one's called Sega Mega Drive Classics Collection. Over 50 classic games. So I was quite excited to get this, and not just because I have to own Sonic 2 on every system ever. Because I'm certainly not buying this on Xbox One, because the version of Sonic 2 and Xbox One is all on Xbox 360 is compatible with Xbox One. No, I bought this because it's a nice collection. I was interested in some of the new achievements. I was interested in some of the games that I don't actually have on any other system. I think some of these haven't been included in some of the other collections. For example, the games on here that we wanted to play for a while, like Shadow Dancer. What else did we have? We had Sword of Vermilion. I'd recently heard in a GameStack video that intrigued me. Obviously, being Yu Suzuki directed RPG, I thought I'd love to check that one out. And Biohazard Battle was another one I was curious about. I say there's 50 games on here, so there's quite a lot. So what are the things make this worth buying? Well, I think the rewind function is huge in this, but I feel terrible every time I do it. Basically what it means is if you die, you can just hold down the left L2 trigger and reverse time, yeah, sort of avoid every death possible. And yeah, it gets quite addictive doing that. But it does allow you to maybe see a game which you would otherwise not be able to progress in. And also what it does is a sort of like, it gives you a sort of training or a practice at the game, and so maybe you can understand the enemy movement patterns a bit better next time you play. I think it's a worthy feature, and it does really make this collection worth having, in my opinion, because it makes every game a lot more accessible. It's also got mirror mode, which I haven't tried yet. It reverses the games around, flips them. Not tried that one yet. It doesn't seem particularly interesting to me. There's online, but when I tried to do it, the lag was so bad it was unplayable. But I was actually quite impressed to how easy it seemed to be to get into an online game. Gave me a random game of Streets of Rage 3 to play, which, you know, I started playing with somebody and it could have been quite fun if not for the tremendous lag. And it did say in a little notice that there is bad lag in this game, but you know, I persevered for a little while until I gave up. Other things you can do is you can change the borders on the game. I prefer just having the black borders, but there's a fairly jazzy 80s style border you can add. There's the standard one is actually Mega Drive grid, you know, the old grid design from the Mega Drive boxes. But I do just prefer black, despite there being some quite funky ones in there. It's nice that the option's there to do that. The games are all laid out in a room. If you're familiar with the Steam versions of a lot of these games, you'll be familiar with that room if you build up the cartridges. This is just like having the complete collection of individual cartridges, because what I've got on Steam is Sonic 2. Of course it's Sonic 2, isn't it? And that just sits on the shelf all alone. The idea is you build up the game collection like that on Steam. Of course now this whole collection is available, 50 games altogether, also on Steam. So this would be the one to look into, I think, because yeah, there's some real good stuff here. You've got a lot of treasure games like Alien Soldier. You've also got a treasure game I've never heard of called Light Crusader, which is an RPG. And RPGs, now you can, as well as rewind, you can fast forward. So all the introductions, the cutscenes, if you've either seen it all before or not interested in the slightest, you can fast forward through it all, which is also pretty good. So these rewind and fast forward things are pretty nice, and it goes without saying the game has save states as well. Which, you know, is always a welcome addition to any retro game that didn't originally have any sort of save features. There's two versions of columns in here, columns and column 3. I don't know exactly why. I'm not that familiar with Column 3. I did give it a go. I like the presentation of it, so maybe it's worthwhile. But if there is one of those two columns going better than the other, then just include maybe the best one, and kind of that would maybe make room for another game, because Sonic 3 is missing from this collection. So is Sonic and Knuckles. I wonder if some games are released separately later on. There does seem to be a few issues around Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. They're not available on every format like some of the other Sonic games, like Sonic 1 and 2, for example. But a lot of the games included on here are the more classic, earlier Mega Drive games. There's some clunkers in here that I've never played until recently. Forget, maybe Galaxy Force 2 seemed a bit clunky to me. I didn't really like that one. But there's so many good games. What I did was I just gravitated towards all the games which I'd never played before, because this was my opportunity. Because a lot of these games I'm quite familiar with. Of course, there's Golden Axe, all Streets of Rage, Gunstar Heroes, all the Sonic games up to. It has Sonic 3D Blast and Sonic Spinball, but not 3 Sonic and Knuckles, as we said. Space Harrier 2, I was missing Hang On. You could have put Super Hang On in here, would have been quite nice. You got the Wonder Boy Monster World, Alex Kidd Enchanted Castle, which is not the best one. Altered Beast, Beyond Oasis, Bonanza Brothers. I never played things like Crackdown before. That seemed okay. So definitely have to give that one a go. Got all the Fantasy Stars on there. I'm not sure if Fantasy Star 1 is or not. Rise Stars on there. The Shining Force games, the Shinobi games. And of course also Shadow Dancer, which is a nice addition. The usual Vector Man, Vector Man 2, and for some reason the Mega Drive version of Virtua Fighter 2 also always appears on these compilations, despite being a pale comparison of the proper version. Puzzle fans, of course, get columns, but also Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which is effectively Puyo Puyo. That's quite nice. So yeah, lots of games, lots of great games, lots of. I mean, the package is pretty nice. I wouldn't grumble at that at all. You do have to go through the game boxes to select a game. It maybe could be the front end could probably be a little bit more intuitive, but it looks pretty, I guess, which is a nice thing there. You could favourite games, so the ones you like the best, it's easier to select them from the main menu, so that's nice. And it also comes with a poster. This is the poster. Streets of Rage, but if you don't like Streets of Rage, you can have Golden Axe. So yeah, nice. Happy with that. Who knows, if it does rather well, it should introduce a lot more people to franchises they've probably never heard of, like namely Streets of Rage, Golden Axe and Shinobi. I know these games have sort of come back later on, especially, well, Golden Axe did in a weird way, and Shinobi has, but Streets of Rage? You know, there was some Saturn one-on-one fighter, but and then some failed attempts at some 3D versions which eventually became other games, but yeah, I hope this does introduce more people to Mega Drive Classics, and those of us who enjoyed playing these games originally, or for me actually I had a Master System, so I played Mega Drive much later on, then this is just a lovely little compilation. My copy cost £25, I think that's seems to be pretty standard. You could download it prior to its release at $22.50. I did think about doing that at the time, but I'd already got my pre-order in, and I thought, well, it's only $2.50 more for the box copy, and you get the poster. So I thought, well, we'll go all out. So that's Mega Drive Collection. Mega Drive Classics, not called Collection, that was another one. Next up, where we go. Okay. No gameplay footage of this. I haven't even taken the stickers off it yet. Dragon Age Origins Awakening. So I bought Dragon Age Origins very recently. Enjoyed what I played of it. If you watch a previous Parry's Pickups, not the bonus episode, but episode 87, then I talk a little bit about my thoughts on Dragon Age Origins there. I saw this sequel for £2. I say sequel, expansion pack, sorry. And thought, why the heck not? I like it enough. Maybe one day I'll finish the original and then I've got this to move on to. But this is also backwards compatible with Xbox One, as the other one is. So that's nice too. The expansion pack, the 2009 RPG of the year. And I've only just got round to playing it. But yeah, just talk about that one very quickly because I've not tried it yet and probably won't for a little while yet. Next, we'll talk about another Xbox 360 game. This is perhaps the best version of Tetris ever. Maybe. It's certainly better than Tetris Ultimate, which was promising the ultimate Tetris. It's upside down. Tetris Evolution for the Xbox 360. I'm sure I touted another Tetris game recently as being the best ever version of Tetris. But this one has a few unique things going on with it. It's very customizable. You can choose yourself a little avatar, so when you play you can recognise your player by an avatar rather than a name. You have 4 players split screen on this. You can choose your template. Your playing field also is customizable. So I changed my avatar to a robot, and then I changed my template to a sort of like a mechanical looking thing. There's 300 avatars to pick from. I can't remember how many templates for the level there are, but there's quite a lot. And that's not including customizable backgrounds, because there's also a lot of customizable backgrounds. There's 10 different music tracks as well that you can select, ranging from the strange to the dramatic to the jazzy to the funky to the rocky. There's quite a lot. I couldn't find one that was really smooth. I mean, the jazz one's pretty smooth, but yeah. So these are all the bells and whistles you've got, which make this Tetris game incredibly unique, but also they pile on the game modes. There's a ton of different game modes on this hotline: Tetris Cascade, Tetris Race, Points. There's quite a lot of stuff. So that's also really nice. And it just plays a great game of Tetris. Everything works as you'd like. There's a quick drop, which is nice. Yeah. As well as changing the backgrounds for just photos, you can have videos as well. These are all fairly generic, some wildlife or some nice landscapes, skyscrapers, but still quite a lot of stuff there, better than the ones in Tetris X on the PlayStation 1. Yeah, it's really bothering me now. I can't think of that other Tetris game that I said was the best ever. Yeah, I'm not sure now. But this, if not better than that one I can't think of, is the next best thing. And if you think you've already got a Tetris game on Xbox 360, because you could download Tetris Splash for absolutely free, that is not as fully featured as this. This has it all. Did come out on PS3 to my knowledge. It's much better than the Tetris game you could get on PS3 actually, because again it has just so much customizability on it. Yeah, and as I say, going back to the music briefly, I did a combination of some clouds moving quite fast with some very peculiar, even dramatic, sinister music, which I'll have to show you now. Yeah, I mean, you can really change up your experience here. There's nothing that's quite like CDI Tetris. Now, if you're familiar with that, that's a similar thing. You've got animated backgrounds with music, but the music's great, and the animated backgrounds are very relaxed. This one feels a little bit more hectic and jazzy, but it's It's pretty great. It did have Xbox Live features back in the day. I don't know if it still does anymore. I haven't tried them. It doesn't appear to be on the Xbox store anymore, Xbox 360 store, because it did have downloadable content as well, which I assume was more video backgrounds, more picture backgrounds, maybe more music, avatars or templates for the game board. Never know what to call that part of the Tetris game. Oh, excuse me. But I couldn't recommend this enough if you're a Tetris fan and you want one for the 360. Do try out Tetris Evolution. Okay, so we move on to the last game, and it's a game I'm very familiar with. You may also be familiar with it. Dead or Alive 2. Dead or Alive 2, I said it very fast, didn't I? Dead or Alive 2, or DOA 2, as it is sometimes referred to. Now, you may wonder, why did I buy this Japanese copy of Dead or Alive 2 when of course I already own the PAL copy. In fact, that was my first Dreamcast game. Well, this has some of the extra stuff that you might have seen in the European PS2 version of Dead or Alive 2. For example, there's some extra cutscenes, extra levels, maybe some extra costumes as well. I assume so. I can't remember because there's quite a few different versions of Dead or Alive 2, as I found out, and to me it's quite interesting to collect them and compare them all. This is better all round, I would say, than the European version of Dead or Alive 2, because you have that extra content that wasn't in that one. But I think the original Japanese release of Dead or Alive 2 wasn't as fully featured as the European release, so that's a very interesting situation you can get into with this. Of course, the PS2 version of Dead or Alive 2 that you can get in Europe is similar to this, but actually does have a bit more to it. But I do prefer the graphics on Dreamcast. They look a little bit better than on PS2. Yeah, it's confusing, but I'm happy to have this copy of it. It's in one of them thicker Dreamcast boxes. Now that might look like a normal CD case, but it's actually a little bit thicker. You do get this with some Dreamcast games. That's the disc, and the spine card came with it as well, and a good thick manual too. It's quite comprehensive. It's not got any artwork in as such. It's got some character images in there and the moves, but it's to be expected at this time that you get a nice manual with a video game. It's a luxury nowadays, but at least he put that poster in the Mega Drive Classics game. Tetris does have a manual, by the way, in case you're interested, and it also has some inner artwork, believe it or not. But yeah, that's black and white and fairly dull, but yeah, I do miss manuals. That's why I'm harping on about them a little bit. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you very much for taking time to watch it. It's been a slightly longer one. I have plenty to say about that Mega Drive collection, and hopefully I've been able to maybe help you decide if you want to pick that one up or not. And Tetris, well, you gotta love Tetris, haven't you? Anyway, thanks again for watching the video, and we shall see you again soon for another Parry's Pickups. Bye for now.